What is up, everybody? Jester here, and last week after the new Conan Exiles update, we discovered that Purge Golems now drop well over 99% less XP than what they used to, meaning that it's going to take a lot longer to get Thralls leveled up to put in a Purge base. Well, this got me thinking, what else can we do to give ourselves the best possible chance to survive these Purges? So today I've put together a list of things that you can do and look at, including Purge base design, armor, gear, weapons, all of it basically that's going to give you an edge when it comes to Purge bases. We've got a ton to talk about, so let's get right into it. Before I get too deep into showing you what thralls I think you should be targeting, as well as armor sets and weapons, I think it's important to talk about the Purge base itself and what it's made out of. A great example, and you could do this early if you wanted to, is you could make a sandstone Purge base. The problem with this, and look, inside of this sandstone build set, not all pieces are going to be 10k HP. I'm just showing you the foundations as kind of a baseline, but this is considered a tier 1 material because it's very easy to come by, and it's just not going to give you a whole lot of durability. I don't think you're really getting into some value until you hit the tier 2 build sets, being stone brick and insulated wood. Now, insulated wood's a little bit harder to come by because it's a little bit of a process to get the insulated wood itself, but this is now offering 75,000 HP per foundation. 7.5 times better than what you do if you use sandstone. Personally, I usually wait until I've got enough materials and can build in tier 3. For this example, I'm just going to show you reinforced stone because the black ice set that is part of the base game is a lot harder to come by, especially with the black ice portion of it. But reinforced stone is pretty easy to get stuff put together for, and it's going to offer you 100,000 HP per foundation. Now, I'm not going to tell you guys about all the different DLC sets, but they are all pretty much considered tier 3 except for Flotsam, which is a tier 1, because not everybody's got all of those. I have Arena and Stormglass, and I tend to use them a lot in Purge bases because I think it looks great, especially the Arena for the base of my Purge base. But just know that you're going to get more durability the better build set you use. As far as Purge base design goes, you can go on YouTube right now and find probably 1,000 videos that claim it's the best Purge base design ever. And maybe that's for you. For me, I tried doing a really complicated base in the very beginning, and it just didn't work as well as something that I did that was very simple. As long as you know how each aspect of your Purge base works together and where to place your thralls, you're going to have not too many troubles. So what I'm going to do is go over some things that worked and some other things that I tried that didn't work out like I expected them to, and you guys can make your own decisions as to how you want to design your Purge base. The first thing that I like to do in a Purge base is create what I call the porch. Now, the reason I do this is once you get up to like level 6 Purges, you can get golems to spawn. And with the golems also come exploding golems. And if the Purge doesn't have a way to get to your treasury, then they're just going to call off the fight. So if a golem does happen to explode here and take out these 2 stairs, I've still got all these stairs to where the other enemies can get up and in. Whereas if I only had, say, this one set of stairs that led up to my base and a golem destroyed it, Purge over. You're going to have to start again. So putting a front porch out is probably a pretty good idea. The next thing that I want to mention that's really important is going to be the pathing of the AI enemies. Much like a game like 7 Days to Die, you can make them go in certain areas to try to get to you. That's exactly what we're doing here, but what we're trying to do is create a bottleneck, a place where my archers can do most of the work. So as you come onto my front porch, you'll notice that I've got this middle lane completely blocked off. That's so they have to either go this way or this way, because up above we've got tar dumpers. This is going to slow them down as they come into our Purge base. This means that archers are going to have maximum amount of time to take them out before they ever become a problem for our foot soldiers. On the backside, you could do 2 more tar dumpers if you like, but for me, I've got the recipe for the burning cauldron, which you get via Purges, or if you've got a friend that's willing to give you one. It's a fairly rare drop recipe, but you can get it in Purges, and these actually do a little more damage than what the tar dumpers would do. So it's going to help you long term. That's why I have them on the back side. Something else I want to point out is a lot of times the enemies will get loose and they'll start down our pathing here, which is just back and forth. That's all we're doing. And a lot of times, for whatever reason, the AI will say, wait a minute, there was some stuff back there. I can do it. And they'll run back and they will go right back into the fire and pretty much die either by that or by my archers. So just note that the AI pathing is pretty stupid, but you definitely want to try to get them on your terms where you want them and give your archers as much time to take them out before they get to your foot soldiers and your treasury as you can. As far as the final few features for my particular purge base goes, it's really pretty simple. I like to have a thrall pot so that there's heals for all of my different foot soldiers and archers can grab from. I also put a couple of doors between the treasury and the open ground, and I also put in another foot soldier here. That's optional. You can do that if you'd like. I just like having him in there just in case. The other thing I like to do is make sure that my shooting platform for my archers is elevated. This keeps them out of the main fray, and they're not going to have as much HP as your fighting guys do. So you definitely want to try to keep them as safe as possible. And in this configuration, it's basically like raining down death on anything that comes at us. I have really never had this purge base fail, other than the purge coming up and saying they can't get to the treasury. So it kind of is what it is. But this kind of leads me into some other design ideas that I had that didn't work out like I thought they would. As you can see, this design is really similar to what we have for my main purge base style. There's a couple of exceptions though. What I wanted to do with this one was get maximum visibility so I could see what was coming a little bit easier versus having higher walls. So to do that, I added these wings. Now, what I hoped would happen was they would come up the ramp and they would fall into these holes and this archer would take care of them. In actuality, what happened was they would just use this to get an elevated position and start firing on my archers. So it turns out that this was pretty much wasted material when it came to adding those wings. But we do still have the same concept here. A big square that forces them down either that alley or that alley. They're going to get hit with tar and burning tar, and then we can tee off on them with the archers. But again, it's a much shorter walkway here, so your foot soldiers are going to get more involved more quickly, depending on how far you have them set to aggro against enemies. So this one, it just didn't work out like I wanted, but it is a great style for visibility. The concept behind this monstrosity of a purge base was divide and conquer. Now we're still using some of the basic concepts that we were using for our other purge bases, which is force them down one of two lanes in the beginning, hit them with tar and a burning cauldron if you have it. But what I wanted to do was see what the AI would do if they were given a choice, right or left, as they came in. And what I found was they will go right and left. But the problem here is, even though we've got 12 archers, 6 on each side, I was still getting them to get all the way through our maze. And what it would do was, let's say we've got a group that came through to about this area, and these guys are set to about 10 meters. All 6 of them would take off to the right to kill one guy. Whereas maybe at 15 meters, somebody was making their way on this side, and now all of my fighters are out of position. So I think it's just a bad idea to give options when it comes to the AI, because your thralls are going to take an option that's closest, and it may mean the difference between winning a purge and losing a purge, because you just don't have any fighters back here to defend your treasury. One final note on design, and this is something you're going to see pretty consistently in my builds, are these little buffer blocks. What I do is I put these about 4 or 5 blocks outside of my build, and the purpose is to keep the purge from spawning right on top of me. Instead of it spawning right here with the opening and me not being able to see what's going on, this gives us a little buffer as to where that purge is actually going to spawn. Now, a word of warning, don't get them too far away from your base or else the purge is going to have trouble spawning. But these blocks have come in super big handy. And also, when you get the exploding golems, let's say the purge spawns right over here, this is the first thing they're going to come and attack, and not your main base. So this is going to help your main base's durability. Now that we understand why we're building purge bases the way that we're building them, and we've got our design down, it's time to staff the place. We're going to be starting with archers, and I'm going to give you my go-to as well as a couple other options. But I think this one's pretty simple based on accessibility and stats, and that's going to be Dunman the Dragoon. Now, I am using the extended Thrall stats mod in a single player server right now, so you guys can actually see all the numbers. And just know this guy does a 2.16 ranged multiplier. He's also got max agility damage bonus of 43%, meaning he hits pretty hard, but he's going to be an agility archer. And honestly, he spawns right over here. It's a guaranteed 100% spawn. It'll probably take it a moment to render in, and there he comes. But this is a guaranteed spawn for this guy. He's going to start off with 420 HP, and he spawns right here in this area right there. Guaranteed 100% of the time. For those of you that might be looking for a strength archer, well, there is an option. It's going to be right in this area here in G10. and that's going to be Dina, Master Huntress. And the reason I don't recommend her is because she's just not as good as Dunman. She's going to be a strength archer. She starts with 30 strength, but the problem is her range multiplier is only 1.584, and her max strength damage bonus is only 14%, meaning she's just not going to hit nearly as hard as Dunman does. But if you're dead set on going with the strength archer, this is one of your better bets because it is a guaranteed 100% spawn rate for her to be in that G10 area. Now, surprisingly, a thrall that I kind of dismissed is going to be Amarath the Swift. This guy actually hits really hard with a range multiplier of 2.88. But sadly, he doesn't offer anything in max strength or max agility damage bonuses. 0. So this guy can kind of go either way, either being strength or agility. And in our case here, you can see that he's got a 100% chance at agility, and he's got a 64% chance at vitality. So what I would probably do is give him some grilled steak, bring him up to 78% growth chance for vitality, because he only starts with 605 HP. But look, man, he's going to do pretty good range damage. It's just going to not be as heavy as before because he's not starting with any to get with. But if you get this guy early in the game, definitely worth keeping around because that range modifier is pretty darn high. When it comes to finding foot soldiers for your Purge base, all you need to do is come up to B11, also known as Mounds of the Dead. Because here, the Sumerian Berserker is a guaranteed 100% spawn. You can absolutely staff all 6 or 8 spots that you're going to need for your fighters with this guy, and it's going to be everything you need. Now, there is one other thrall up here that, if you can find her, is a pretty good option, and that's going to be Dalancia Snowhunter. Now, she is not a guaranteed spawn, but she does spawn up here quite often. So if you can get her, I think she's just slightly better than the Zerker, but it's kind of a toss-up in all actuality. And if you don't want to spend the time looking for her, then you don't need to, because the Zerker is pretty much everything you need. There are very few differences between the Zerker and the Dalancia, but there is one big glaring one. The Zerker starts with 2,549 HP and has a melee multiplier of 2.24. Whereas Dalancia starts with about 200 more HP, and she only drops down 0.004 when it comes to the melee multiplier. So she doesn't hit quite as hard, but we're really talking about splitting hairs here. And the extra 200 HP really could come in handy. It's just that the Zerker is so much more accessible. Now that we understand how we design our Purge bases and we know what thralls we're going to be putting in the Purge base, it's time to outfit them with armor and weapons. Really, as far as armor goes, you need only go to the bottom part of F12 and bring some spicy food, but we're going to be heading to the Black Keep. Because after making your way through this dungeon and fighting and defeating the Kinscourge, you can then walk right up to this tablet here, and you're going to learn the Redeemed Legion Armor gear set. Now, I've already got the recipe, but this stuff should be everything you need for your thralls. Looking at the Redeemed Legion armor set, you can see that it is quite a ways up there when it comes to armor values. Let's just look at the chest piece. It does require star metal, black ice, and alchemy base for you to craft this, but these are pretty easily gathered, especially as you get a little bit later into the game. And also note that the chest piece starts at 385 armor value, but when you craft it with a Shieldrite, the plus armor thrall, you actually end up with 521 armor value. So this should help your archers and your foot soldier thralls live through just about anything. It's going to hurt because they're going to be low level, but this gives them the best chance you can give them at survival, at least with the gear you can give them at this point. There are 2 other, in my opinion, better options when it comes to gear sets for your thralls, and we're going to touch on those here in just a minute, but they're a lot harder to come by, and it's not real safe to be farming for them. So I kind of ruled those out because really Redeemed Legion is about all you're going to need. But I do want to give you a few options when it comes to the weapons that you're going to put in your thralls' hands. I'm going to give you 2 options for your foot soldiers, and I'm going to give you an option each for a strength archer and an agility archer. Let's start with our agility archer, and that's going to be fighting the Red Mother. After defeating the Red Mother, she's got a pretty limited amount of legendaries that she can drop. In this case, we ended up getting the Final Breath of the Red Mother, which is the best torch in the game. It's over 200 hours worth of torch. You don't even have to worry about it too much. But what we were hoping for was going to be this, the Reach of the Red Mother. It is by far the best agility bow in the game, starting off at a health damage of 34 and an armor penetration of 9%. Once upgraded with the master weapon fitting, it moves up to 39 health damage and 21% armor pen. This is going to hit super hard if you chose Dunman the Dragoon as your archer. For the final 3 items that we're going to be looking for, we're going to be heading to B78 right here on the cusp. This is Clail's Stronghold, home to the Warmaker's Sanctuary. And as you come down for the very first fight with the very first boss, this is going to be the first opportunity for us to grab an item that'll be great for our foot soldiers. Sometimes after defeating this first boss, he will drop this weapon. This is the Axe of the Gate Guardian. We're going to move that down here and show you that it starts with 71 health damage and no armor penetration. It's still one of the best one-handed axes in the game. When you upgrade this with the master weapon damage kit, it moves up to 76 health damage and 12% armor penetration. This is going to be a really easy to farm and good weapon for you to put in the hand of your Zerker or your Snow Hunter. There is one better one, but this one will suffice. It does pretty good damage. With that fight over, we're going to move into the next chamber, and I'm just going to show you this kind of live because it's really, really simple. This door will lead you deeper into the dungeon, and if you continue on the very next door, we're going to go through here, and you're in the right place because you're going to see this demonic guy. We're going to need to fight him and move on to the next chamber. With him defeated, like I said, we're just going to move into this next chamber, and this is the next guy that can drop the next weapon that we might be looking for. Again, this boss doesn't have an overabundance of legendaries they can drop. You can get Crom's Hammer, but you can also get this, Durketo's Voice. And as we pull that down and look at it, you can see it's got a 33 health damage and no armor pen, and it is a strength bow. So if you decided to go with a strength archer, this would be the bow you would want to put in their hands. Once upgraded, again with the master weapon damage kit, it moves up to a 38 health damage and 12% armor penetration. Either way you go, whether it's agility or strength, these are the 2 bows you want to be targeting for your Purge base. As far as the next fight goes, it's pretty optional, but you might want to do it with the Arena Champ. This is one of the hardest fights in the game. If you guys want to see a more detailed version of how to get through Warmaker's Sanctuary and do these fights correctly, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to get that done. I've tried to shoot it 2 or 3 times and I just keep having trouble with how it comes out. But no, just around this corner, this is where you're going to get the Champion's Armor Gear Set recipe. And that's going to be pretty costly because it does take scraps to do. What we're going to do is move on to the very end of this dungeon, and we're going to fight the Warmaker's Champion, and then we're going to get a few more recipes and a shot at our final weapon. With the Warmaker Champion defeated, we're going to grab the armor scraps, and then we're going to head straight over here towards the exit. We're going to be looking for 2 particular tablets because they're both important. You need to make sure you grab them both. One is going to give you the Godbreaker armor recipe. The other one is going to give you the Master Armor and Master Blacksmith, to where you can actually craft all the different master weapon fitting and those type of things. We also need to make sure we bring skeleton keys with us because there are 6 legendary loot boxes. Now, we didn't actually get the weapon that I was looking for in any of those 6 boxes, but I do want to take just a second to point out that we got the Axe of the Lion. Now, this looks great on paper, 103 health damage, and if we're going to upgrade it, it's going to be even higher with better armor pen. But the problem with this is it's predatory, meaning that only light attacks actually count. A heavy attack does 1 damage. You give this to a Thrall, they're not going to really do any damage because most of what Thralls do is heavy attacks. So don't get fooled into thinking that this is a great weapon for your Thrall. What we were actually looking for is the momentum. This is considered to be the best Thrall weapon in the game, starting off at 85 health damage with 27% armor penetration. That moves up, once upgraded, to 90 health damage and 39% armor pen. This is a great weapon. Now, I get a lot of them in Warmakers, but there is a couple other places where I've gotten them before. Silvermine being one of them. It's got 4 chests. And then also in the Black Keep at the very end, there are 4 chests. So just know that you're going to have to farm quite a few skeleton keys to get any of these en masse because it's a chance. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. And if you get them, you should rejoice because it's pretty rare to find one of these. But again, I think ultimately this is the weapon you really want to give your Thralls, at least your foot soldiers. But like I said, the Axe of the Gate Guardian should suffice, no problem. Wow, this video got a little bit longer than I anticipated, so thank you to everybody that stuck around to the end, because I wanted to give you guys really good information about not just building the Purge base, but how to staff it and get the best possible gear you can get for your thralls, because it's just going to be so much harder now to get these thralls in a great position level-wise. We need to take every advantage we can, and weapons and armor are a huge one. Also, starting with the right thralls is a pretty good idea, and not to mention that having a good design is going to make it all so much easier in the first place. Hopefully you guys like this, because like I said, we're going to be going into Dune Awakening with the same kind of mindset where how can we be more ruthlessly efficient doing what we're doing and trying to save time. And if you're into that, subscribe to the channel, and please like this video because it'll help get it out to more people. But until next time, guys, thank you for sticking around for 20 minutes. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Till next time, we'll see you soon. Bye.